Welcome to People Are Everything, the show where I ask my guests, who are the 5 people that have shaped the person you are today? And today we have Lori Powell. And I'm so excited about this one. I don't often meet people like Lori. I'm not really from the luxury fashion world, which you can probably tell by my attire. But I've never met anybody so, I guess, intentional about the career that she wanted. She is from the Midlands. She talks very playfully in this conversation about how her journey from Midlands to Mayfair was one of her kind of intentional pathways. And what a career she's had. She began at Harrods. She worked through many levels within Tiffany's and now has her own business. She's just a delightful human being. And we had a very warm and tender conversation, and particularly about her family. So I'm really looking forward to sharing you this one. So sit back and enjoy Lori Powell. Good morning, Lori. Welcome to People Are Everything. How are you, first of all?
I'm wonderful and very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Can I tell everybody that we just did massive wardrobe changes? It was too funny. Honestly, we both popped up on screen and we both had the same shirt on pretty much. I mean, a white shirt's a white shirt, right? But we were like, oh, that's not going to work. And then there was lots of fussing. We did a lot of fussing, didn't we?
You made me change.
I did not. I did not. I think you volunteered.
I did.
But, yeah. Well, it's lovely to have you here. I'm really excited about this one because, well, you know, you're fabulous. And who doesn't want to know about your career? Because I know particularly all the women listening will be going, how did she work there? What was it like? So we are going to get into the old Tiffany's. I think there's no question that we're going to talk about that. But also the world you occupy now is it just feels glamorous. Lori, is it? Feels glamorous. Looks glamorous from the outside. So I want to get into who you are and what you're all about in a minute. But as is my wont, I also like to set these things up with a little bit of background about how we met. And I think we met at a networking event, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. It was Deacon Consulting's annual, biannual event. Yeah,
I think they call it the Jingle Mingle or something. It's a Christmas thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's great at that, Darren, isn't he? He's a real connector of people. I think he just loves a party, personally. I think his whole business is a ruse. I think it's just because he loves people and he wants to have shindigs.
I completely agree.
Oh, but who introduced me? It was Olivia, wasn't it?
That's it, Olivia Wilkinson. She dragged me along as her +1. It was supposed to be myself and my business partner, but my business partner couldn't make it, so I was there. And then I arrived before her. So classic, you don't know anybody. If the person you've invited isn't there, so you're just kind of meandering through the crowds trying to find somebody. And then I saw you.
Oh, so you and I just started talking, did we?
One of the first people I met when I was in there, because she was quite late. She was running late from another appointment, and you were just so good at connecting people, making it light of the fact that networking is quite awkward. Even though Darren is very, very good at making people feel very comfortable in that space. But yeah, it was wonderful. It was great. I loved watching you work.
Oh,
I was
stop
glad to
it!
talk to you.
Oh, God, that's just typical me, isn't it? I just go, oh, look at all these new people I can go and say hello to. I get quite excited by things like that because you never know. I always say those networking events, if you come away meeting 1 or 2 people that you think are wonderful and you've had some great conversations, that's enough. You know, I don't do the business card thing. I don't do that. No one has them anymore anyway, do they? But you know what I mean? You don't have to hand stuff out or do your pitch. I think it's about just, you know, gravitating and connecting with people. So there must have been some energy between us, Lori. I must have gone, she looks nice. I'm going to go and speak to her. That's usually how it works.
One thing I always find is that it's like you said, nobody does business cards anymore.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to keep in touch afterwards, that's like the business exchange, isn't it? You say, hopefully you share enough of yourself that people say, oh, I want to keep in touch with her. So I was very grateful that you did.
And listen, I was talking to someone the other day. I do a bit of mentoring on the side. Not on the side, actually. I do it within the firm I'm in. But it's a passion of mine. I love mentoring, particularly sort of up and coming sort of female talent. I think they just need a little bit of extra help still in this world. So, and I was talking to one of them the other day, and I said, networking is no different to making friends. You can't fast track it. You can't just go, oh, I want her in my network, and we're going to do business together. It's like, okay. There's many, many steps before people actually start to engage professionally. And those steps aren't that different. You wouldn't walk up to somebody and say, well, maybe you did when you were a kid at school, but you don't go into a social situation and say, can we be friends, please? That would be, a bit much. So I think networking, especially online, is not that different. You just have to take your time and take a genuine interest. And if you really like someone, just say so, and move towards that person. But yeah, I know those they can be awkward. And I'm not saying my whole night was filled with joy, Lori. I got trapped in a corner or two with the wrong
Oh,
kind.
yeah.
I mean, there are skills I can teach you all how to do to get out of those situations. But even I get caught in them sometimes. And it's like, oh, okay, how do I get out of this one? But mostly it was a fun night. I had a really good
It
time.
was. It was. I always find the balance is when you're an interesting person, but you also have to be interested. There's a difference between being interesting and interested. So you strike that balance really well because you're quite interesting, but also you're interested in others. Whereas some people I felt, and this is typical of all networking events, they're probably very interesting, but because they're not interested, it makes them less interesting.
Do you do the question thing? I have a little gosh, we'll get on the podcast in a minute, but this
We
is
will, we
fun.
will.
But this is fun. This is fun. Do you do the thing? I mean, I don't do it. It's not a scorecard. It's not that deliberate. But I had this thing where if I walk away from a conversation and I know quite a bit about that person, but if the other person was asked, "What can you tell me about Julia?" and they can't say anything because they didn't ask me anything, that's probably not going anywhere. Because I think if you don't reciprocate with, if I share an interest in you and then you go and you just tell me everything about you that you want to share and don't ask me any questions back, that's your whole interesting and interested point, isn't it? You've got to ask questions. You've got to be curious about the person in front of you.
This is it. And actually, this will help us segue into the podcast because one of, throughout my career, I've done a lot of sales training. And the thing is about asking people questions, being inquisitive, being curious. You can't just share everything you know about what you have to sell. You have
Yeah.
to engage. And the more you've done the questioning, the easier it is to close the sale. So much easier. But it's easier said than done as well.
Well, let's see. I mean, I think we could do a whole podcast on how to engage with people in networking events, and I think we'll probably get millions of
Viral.
followers. We'll go viral with all our advice, Laurie. But we're here to talk about you today. So no, it was a joy to meet you. We struck a great conversation, I remember, and I think I very quickly followed up with, please come on my podcast. It would be very, very wonderful to have you here. And I think my interest in you is not just your career background, because that is impressive, but actually the path you've now taken to the business that you have now. And I'd like you, before we go into your five, can you just sort of plot that path? Because it's not, to me, anybody who steps out on their own and does their own thing, I find that incredibly impressive. So can you just talk us through your career path for everybody and share a bit about who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I am Lori. I'm a leadership development consultant. I work freelance, offering training and development to lots of different organizations, but mostly within the luxury retail space. And that's because that's where I built my brand. But the way I got there is that I finished university, I studied in Sheffield, came back, took on a full-time role where I'd done my kind of student job and managed to work my way up into like a leadership role in that company. I was in Derby. I love where I live. Derby is a city of dreams, and people argue all the time about that statement, but I stand by it. But
Was
somehow,
it what
yeah,
everybody else calls it, or just people who live in Derby call it?
just not even people who live in Derby,
Ah,
just me. I love it here so much. But
yeah.
I always knew there was something a little bit more. I'd ended up getting engaged to my partner who I was with at university, but I didn't want to marry him. And I
Oh,
thought the only way to be able to escape this, rather than have the difficult conversations, which I now try and support people in having, was to move city. And a
that's a
job
bit
had come
extreme,
up.
Laurie. It's
It
a
was
bit
so,
extreme.
so extreme. And a job had come up with the company that I was working for in London. So I said, I'll just apply. I'll apply for the job and see if I get in. And I did. I took a job for a high street retailer over in London, as a manager of a retail shop floor, loving it, absolutely loving it. And then ended up transitioning from there into the luxury space. My older sister, she kind of like gone before me to pave the path. And she had taken a job at Harrods, and she said, "Oh, Lori, forget all this high street stuff where you're counting all the pennies at the end of the night and unlocking the toilet, and when the security alarm goes off, you're the one who has to go and unlock the door. It's all done for you in this city of dreams, which is Harrods, this world, this beautiful world." So I had to take a job there, and that was it. That was it. I loved working in luxury, ended up working on the shop floor, running a team, but I realized I was better at coaching the team and getting the best out of them than I was at selling itself. So I decided I would pursue a path in learning and development, and that's where it was from there. I went from Harrods, and then I ended up at Tiffany and Company.
Ended up at Tiffany's, isn't it? I mean, come on.
I know, I say it like, and
Oh,
people feel
nothing.
like, oh, it's
Harrods
such a
to Tiffany's.
creative.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you something we did talk about that night. I don't know if you remember. We talked a lot about the moving from the north to the south and how that was so I don't know, how that shaped you a bit. Quite a bit. And I think didn't you listen to I think it was Jed Hallam's podcast of mine, and you were kind of I can't remember. My timelines are all going off now because we've had so many conversations. But I know that you resonated very much with his sort of. I think he said something like I was too posh for the north and too I don't know something for the south,
Common for the South, which was
something like that.
complete. Yeah, I mean,
And you
he's I think
and you
30 miles.
experience. Yeah, you said you experienced something similar. So maybe do you want to share that? I don't know if
Yeah, I think he's about 30 miles up the road from where I grew up. And when I listened to his, I really did resonate, and it reminded me of the journey that I call my Midlands to Mayfair journey.
Midlands to May. Now it's all coming back. Midlands to Mayfair. I love that. Right, go on.
That's
Tell
the
us a bit more
one.
about that.
Well, in Derby, I think the average price of a house at the time was about £130,000. So to go from working and living in a city where, that's the reality, to then working at Harrods, where the price of a wild Russian sable fur coat was about £30,000. The deposit for that is also comparable to a fur coat that you were then selling on the shop floor. It was just, when I look back, I think it's quite surreal, the experience of everybody being so friendly and community based in Derby. You can knock on your neighbour's door, ask for sugar, ask for milk, and to move to London where you don't know anybody and you have to make a name for yourself. And you're a little bit naive coming from the Midlands because you think everyone's your friend and everybody wants the best. And London is a wonderful place, but it's described as one of the loneliest. So you really have to kind of chart that path.
I totally. Oh well, let's talk about the loneliness bit first. I know what it is to move to a city when it's not your natural sort of where you grew up. But I did it in a slightly different way. I moved to Mumbai for 5 years, and that was a culture shock. But I do remember those early months being really like disorientated and didn't know anybody apart from my coworkers and not knowing how to get around. I mean, I'm not saying it's the same for London. You can get around, but it's those early months. I think of well, I've got a whole weekend ahead of me. What am I going to do? Who am I going to do it with? I don't know anybody here. Did you experience all of that when you first moved in?
Yes, and I guess it's very, very different to Mumbai because at least, you still speak the language
Yeah.
perhaps, and you still have there's still a lot that resonates from where you might come from. But I found that for somebody who is, it might be described as toxic productivity, where you can't just sit and let things happen and, go with the flow and rest and chill on the weekend. You have to have things to do. If you don't kind of know what that looks like, or people to tell you where's the best place to go to get, a haircut or
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to get the best food, it was quite difficult. But my sister and her husband were had moved there. And so
Okay,
they
so
were very good at showing, yeah, I was kind of like tagging
someone to
along
hold
with
your
them.
hand. Yeah, well, that's nice. That's what sisters are for.
Yeah,
That's a good
I guess.
thing. Ah, wonderful. But it's still something to make that leap from, the safety and brand identity of someone like Tiffany's. I mean, you can build a company like that, you can stay for life. I mean, people do, don't they? They have entire careers in brands like that. So for you to go into learning and development, what was that calling then? What made you, I know you said you just kind of felt that was more your thing, but still a big leap from being in a business and then going and helping other businesses.
Yeah, I think it started at Harrods because I was working on the shop floor and I enjoyed so much seeing the team, giving feedback, managing a team, leading by example as well, hopefully being the right kind of role model, but seeing the potential in people. And I thought, gosh, I didn't know a lot about coaching and development at the time, but I just knew that that came natural to me to give people feedback, to share about how they could be better, how they could build capability as well as competence. And so I ended up taking a bit of I did 1 day a week in the learning and development department. They took me on to run what's called the Harrods induction. And it's an induction where you have 90 people in in this big lecture theatre. They call it the Herodian lecture theatre. And your job is to convince people that they have made the best decision of their life to join Harrods. I say convince. They didn't take much
Yeah, I was
convincing,
going to
I
say
saw.
this old shop.
But it was that, it was described as like a theatre of standards, of poise, of polish, and it really just I
Mm,
loved it so
mm.
much. So my job of convincing people was very easy, but also showing people what it's like to be in a culture of a business that's driven by excellence. That came very natural. So when a full-time role came up, they asked me if I wanted to stay, and I ended up doing a lot more work with them and building up capabilities around leadership then. And then when I got the call to go to Tiffany from somebody who had left Harrods to go over to Tiffany, I had to say yes. Both of my sisters owned Tiffany gifts from boyfriends and partners. My younger sister, she had the little heart tag earrings, which
Hmm.
at the time were about £100. And she absolutely loved it. She still has them to this day. She doesn't have the boyfriend, of course, but she has the earrings. And then my older sister, she got engaged with a Tiffany ring. And I was just amazed at how can a company create products that elicit such wonderful feelings, the same type of feelings at different price, completely different price points, and that's the magic of Disney. There's this kind of American optimism that resonates with me. I'm very, very like overly optimistic, positive. So I think that kind of American culture very much resonated. But I ended up being a sales trainer on the shop floor, observing interactions, giving feedback, coaching, and then moving up to coach leaders, coach their development, help them to build high performing teams. And then ended up overseeing 1,100 employees across 6 different regions, managing a team of learning professionals. And that was all through people, it sounds cliche, but grit and hard work. Because I think people like me, maybe from Derby, it just wasn't, I don't want to make it about where I'm from, but I do think there's something about a type of profile that makes it to a certain level in these organizations. And I
Mm.
felt blessed that I was given the opportunity, and I'll come on to them in my 5 people to grow in my career and to help other people grow as I was growing. It was just a wonderful parallel that was happening at the same time.
Oh, there's so much I want to talk about there. First of all, let's talk about the premium of Tiffany's. Everyone knows the Tiffany engagement ring is vastly more, I think, shall we say, uh, it's it's inflated. It isn't it? It's just inflated. If you actually broke the components down, it's an inflated price for an engagement ring, but it's a Tiffany's engagement ring. And if you're a man and you know that you want to show, that you're beloved, that you absolutely have gone all out and you don't know what to do, I imagine most men go, "Where's Tiffany's? I'll just go to Tiffany's. If I go to Tiffany's, can't go wrong. She's going to love it because it's a Tiffany's ring." So I think how they've developed that brand of it being the premium, the premiere, the ring that everybody wants to show their love with. And anyway, and that simplicity of that heart. I mean, it's just it's a simple design, but it's it's iconic, and it's stood. I don't know how long. How long has that been going? It's got to be at least 50 years or so, isn't it? The heart shape.
Oh yes, I think.
It's
Gosh,
like,
you're testing me now.
well,
But
you know what I mean.
the business has been
It's at
around since the
least
1800s. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that design is stood the test of time, and people still love it now. And it's like that timelessness, that iconic nature, the brand values. I can see how working in the luxury brand space is different. And I guess that's the point I was trying to make earlier about making that leap into your own business, is that you have found your niche, and that it is there is a different level of personal development required to deal with the kind of people that are looking for that level of luxury in their lives. There's an expectation, even if whether you have all the money in the world and it's a trinket, or whether you've made it your life savings and you're going out to make that very special purchase. There's something about luxury that there's an expectation of how you are going to be handled in that experience. And I think that's probably all that training, all those years where you've worked within all of that space, is probably why you're so successful now in your current business, because that is an art form. It's a thing you have to learn.
It really is, and it's so different to. I haven't worked across many industries. Of course, now our work takes us into some other industries, but you realise that the same expectation that a client has from a premium brand like Tiffany, whether it is something that's an entry level price or something that's really extortionate at price, really extortionate. Internally, employees have that same experience as well. So whether somebody's in their first line of, first management position and they really want that curated experience of how am I going to grow with this amazing company, somebody who's been there 22 years and has seen it all, every management structure, they've outlived them, but they're still looking for growth, development, and passion. So it translates the client experience internally and the client experience um, externally. It mirrors.
Mm,
So it was my job and my team's job to keep that alive and to keep that growth, to drive a culture of togetherness and capability and accountability as well. Because the luxury industry, it's quite tough right now. I've done it for a number of years, but it's not easy for the brands to keep this kind of precision behind it, whilst customers are a little bit more discerning, lots of things happening. You need people to really want to choose you externally and internally.
but you just light up when you talk about it, Laura, if you don't mind me saying. You obviously love it. And I think that's, you radiate that. And I can imagine, I love the Midlands to Mayfair thing, but I imagine that people would have naturally gravitated to that energy anyway. And I can totally see how. I have only had a few interactions with you, but I can see the why you are so successful and what you're doing. So listen, that's enough about. We'll do a big old plug at some point on your
Sure.
business so that everyone can come find you. But let's get into the podcast format now. So my next question is always, how did you find choosing your five? So how did you find it?
I found it difficult and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult because there are so many people. I'm quite philosophical, so I find lots of meaning and I pull things from many like interactions that I have in life. So, it could be somebody I've met on a flight who you talk to the whole way home. You don't even know their names, but you've exchanged life stories. You think, gosh, yeah, I pulled so much meaning from that conversation. They've not made it to the five. So, they were difficult in that way, but then easy because as even as I listen to other podcasts, I'm like, yeah, these are the people that really resonate with those. I have examples of stories like that in my own life. So, yeah, easy in some ways, difficult in others.
I haven't been made to do my five yet, and I'm not looking forward to it, frankly, because I think there's.
I have this question for you.
Oh
Yes, when are you
God,
going to do yours?
yeah, but it's sort of not fair, is it? It's like I don't see how I can just no matter what I do, it's going to be like. Well, first of all, I'm going to be super hard to interview. I don't know how I'd be. I think I'd misbehave. But no, I am going to be made to do it. I said I'd do it on my 100th episode. There you go. You've heard it here first, folks. I think I'm well on my way to that. So stick with me, and I'll reveal everything at that stage. But listen, let's get into yours. Okay, well, let's start with number one. Who's top of the list?
So I've been cheeky and naughty all in one
Mm-hmm.
by having two for my first. I'm so sorry, I had to do it because my
Everyone's
first.
doing this now. I need to get some discipline. I'm
You do
obviously
that.
not intimidating enough. I need to start putting some rules. I'm really
That's
messing.
why you need to do yours, because you'll see how hard it
I
is.
know.
So
I'm
it's
really
almost like
messing.
from an empathy perspective.
Yeah.
But my first are my sisters, my
Ah.
formidable sisters. They are just incredible women that also happen to be my business partners. But we have to strike that balance between the
Ooh.
professional and the personal. And yeah, I think of my older sister. Um, she's the first L in LVL London, who also moved from working in a factory in Derby to then moving over to work at Hather Fraser in Nottingham. And I think she'd gone for a job in the loading bay to just help load products into the store. And when they'd seen her, she's very glamorous. When they'd seen her, they said, "Well, you can't be in the loading bay. We need you in the denim department." So they like shuttled her off the denim department, and then she had no kind of plans to be in retail, in luxury. No, I didn't either. Neither did Victoria, my other sister, but somehow managed to work her way up through relationship building and strong connections and tenacity, and I call it radical authenticity. I'm a bit
I
more
like that.
strategic in my authenticity. She's radical. She's fierce. She's fantastic. And she ended up working at Harrods, so that's how I ended up getting into there. Not because,
Oh.
your mate got you in, but because she inspired
She
me
drew
to.
you there.
Like
Yeah.
she drew me
Hmm.
there. And then
Hmm.
my younger sister Victoria, she is. I don't like using the word fierce, but it's the only way to describe these two women. But it's fierce with a femininity,
Yeah.
and I'm very inspired by how loyal she is. She's the type that, on my birthday, I've signed you up to do a TEDx talk. This is what I wrote about you, so this is who you are. I was like, oh, that's not who I am. She said, it is who you are. How dare you? She refuses to not
What?
let me.
Wait. That was your birthday present that I've signed you up for a TEDx talk.
I mean, amongst other things,
I
she
was going
also
to
is the
say,
best gifter in the family. But
oh,
she said,
that's
I also want you to do this. And I've already sent it to you. I said, well, what have you written? She said, sent me the bio. I said, is that me? She said, yes, it is. Well, it's not who you are, but it's what you do. And what you do is who you are.
oh, hilarious. Okay, I've got so many questions, but carry on with
Well,
Victoria.
yeah, these are Victoria. She is just the most loyal person. And she's guarded as a person, and that's because she just protects her peace so
Mm.
well. And I take that from her, that she protects her peace, but she protects the people that she loves. She became a mother a couple of years ago, and I've seen just how she's balanced life and work and her personal life, but maintain the core of who she is. Because I know that when you become a mother, it's quite, it really just shapes you and changes you. But I love who she's becoming, and it inspires me every day.
Amazing. Well, I've underlined so many things here. So radical authenticity, protecting your peace. I definitely want to get into that in a second. I didn't quite catch your elder sister's name.
Louise.
Louise, right? I mean, what a pair of bookends you have. I mean, it's almost like it's like the protection sandwich, isn't it? I mean, what are you like then? Are you fierce? Are
I
you radically
am.
authentic? Is it?
I'm strategically authentic, I call it. I'm more strategic, which means you're a bit more deliberate, a bit more aligned. You're still authentic, but deliberate and aligned. That's what I often call when I do talk and things. And I'm a typical middle child, so I
Yeah.
am in the middle. I like that balance between the two. And I think that I balance out both of them, but they also bring out a more fierce side of me, a more confident, and more bold, and more tenacious side. So yeah. I do
Oh,
think
how
I am that way.
wonderful! I'd like to meet them, although I'm slightly scared. Um, what about this protection of peace thing? I think that's such a wonderful pursuit. I'm not there yet. I'm still seeking it. And I've said this before on my podcast, is that peace is something I'm really looking forward to, and I'm really pushing for. Like, not pushing, but it's an aspiration of mine. Like, to achieve a level of comfort in oneself and comfort in one's position in life, and say, okay, that's, and to sort of walk through life with an element of peacefulness. This is something I'm actually aspiring to. But I like the idea of it being somebody protecting their peace. And how I've heard that when you said it was someone saying, right, I can give all this to the world. This is fine. I'll put all this out there. But this bit, my immediate family, my home life, my home, my kind of, these are my boundaries. This is my sacred space. You don't get to come in here unless I absolutely allow it. And I won't let anything affect it. It's sacred. That's what I heard. Is that, have I got that right?
Yes, 100%. And doing it
Mm.
in a way that doesn't make other people offended. I'm never offended when she is showcasing her boundaries. In fact, I'm inspired by how well she does it, how well she articulates what that looks like. But she also does it for other people. So there's one thing to do it for yourself, but also encouraging me to do it for myself. Like, oh, I heard this, and I'm just checking in there. She will challenge, and I love that about her. There's also something about how goal focused you can stay amongst chaos, because I think when you become a mother also there's like a life goes "Ugh," and she's just able to stay so goal focused in the midst of challenge. That's also an element of protecting the peace as well. Just what is the goal? What are we working towards? What are we doing? And she kind of reins us in, because myself and Louise, as you can see, I'm very passionate, I'm very vocal. You can see it in my body language. And
Yeah.
Louise and I, we want to do everything and anything 100%, 100% of the time, whereas Victoria's good at reining us in and
Yeah,
saying,
grounding you
"No,
both and saying that's
that's it,
enough now.
that's it."
Yeah, wow, you're so lucky. Okay, and the TEDx present, I can't let that go. I mean, I can't honestly. That sounds to me like one of the most generous, thoughtful presents anybody's ever given anyone. Because if you break it down on the when you say it quickly like that, oh, she signed me up for TEDx. Like, okay, but if you break it down, she's thought about you. She's thought this is something that Lori would really be great at, and it would be good for her to do. Let me go and seek out how to apply. I'll look at the application form. I will then draft the application. I will then send in that application, and I'll talk to Lori about it and ensure that this actually happens. I mean, to me, that's like a wonderful, it's just a wonderful gift. Did it ever happen? Did you do
It
your TEDx?
hasn't happened yet, but I'm putting
Okay.
yet in there because it still needs to be done, and I need to honor those efforts as well from her. But it's a long story. But yes, I'm sure it will happen.
Well,
It will
we will
happen
hold.
one day.
I mean, well, absolutely has to happen now. If someone's gifted you that, and that I love the accountability of that too. I've gifted you this, so don't let me down. I mean, good Lord.
That's
Wonderful.
Victoria.
Absolutely wonderful. Oh, well, if I'm very lucky one day, I might meet her. And Louise, they sound amazing. All right. Anything more you want to say about these guys before we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right. Okay. Number 2 then, please.
Number 2 is a lady called Sadie Burrows. She was my first manager at the high street footwear brand I told you
Mm-hmm.
I started working at and then moved to London for. She was the embodiment of high standards and directness, but also warmth and loving and caring at the same time, which I think is such a hard balance to strike, especially today in leadership. People are so afraid to say the wrong thing, be too authentic, offend, all of those things that stop leaders really just showing up authentically. I think I love
Mm-hmm.
that authenticity, don't I? But she was very good at that. There's a book by a woman called Kim Scott called Radical Candor. I don't know if you've read it, but many of your listeners will have. And it's about challenging people directly but caring deeply. And if you can't get that balance, people find it really difficult to interact with you. So she was very good at challenging me very directly. My first role, I had taken a job in the stock room, packing boxes of trainers, 60 cartons a day, which was building up the muscle at the time. And she decided to put me forward for the management training program, which I had no ambitions. In fact, maybe I was a little bit too, well, I'm a graduate now. I studied and I want to go and work in, a big marketing firm, 'cause that's what I studied. But she said, no, do this leadership program, because I see potential in you, even though you're in the back and not many people are exposed to what you do. I've monitored you, I've seen it, and I want you to grow. She would also shout at me. The stock room was up 2 flights of stairs, and I could hear her from the bottom of the stairs, like, Lori, what are you doing? Lori, get up. And I think I was so scared of her at the time, but also in awe of her. And she taught me that, being popular is just not important when you want to be a good leader. And it's something that, I tell many, many people that we work with, being popular and making all the right decisions, ticking all the boxes, not important. Getting the results with the team on board, with yourself on board, aligning your values is a little bit more important. So yeah, that was Sadie.
Well, let's pick up on the popular bit first, because I was thinking leadership is a bit like parenting. It's like nobody wants to be the popular parent. Like it's not. That's not what it is. I know you haven't. You don't have children yourself yet, do you? Or maybe you won't have any at all. It's a bit presumptuous of me. But if you've obviously seen your sister Victoria navigating motherhood, and there's basically, that's the last thing you want to be as a popular parent with your children. That when you see that in the world, you go, oh God, that's a recipe for disaster. You've got to set your boundaries. You've got to have the rules. You've got to do all the stuff that isn't popular. And I don't think it's that different in leadership. And I do think the authenticity piece is so important. I don't know anybody in modern leadership training or modern leadership success that will challenge that. I think if you can't show up authentically as a leader, you can't lead. You can do leading. You can definitely do it. You can do it as an activity. You can, do all the components of leadership. I know, delegate things, instruct, or order. You can do those things, but you can't lead people because they just won't follow you. They won't follow you because you're phony, and people just know when you're phony, and they just won't buy into you. And the moment there's any kind of pressure on the business, they'll all just go, "Oh well, never mind." They won't get in the boat with you and help. So I think it's a bit like, I don't know, back to that popularity thing. So no, I'm a big fan of authenticity. I know it's a much used word at the moment, but I think it's because we're all waking up to it. I think we're all waking up to the power of it. I think we know that that's the only thing that works. And even if you're being shouted at, as she would have been doing, if it's authentic and you trust her, you know that she's only shouting because you need her to be shouted at. I don't mind anybody telling me something I don't like to hear or whatever if I trust the intent. If I believe they're on my side and they want me to win, you can say anything to me and I'll listen. And then that comes back to this whole idea of trust, and we probably shouldn't go down that rabbit hole. But no, I mean, and a first boss, the responsibility of a first boss. I'm talking a lot about this at the moment. How your first boss holds the key to much of people's further success. If you mess this, anybody here who's taking on graduates or people in their first roles, I promise you the best thing you can do is give them a very good rounded experience in their first role, because it will set them up for life. But if you mess it up, it can really be quite long-term damaging. So you were very lucky to meet Sadie. She sounds incredible. Do you still have her in your life? Do you still see her? Do you know her still?
We have not spoken for many years, actually. But what has happened, which I find hilarious and just so Sadie, is that years later, after I left the company and I've moved on and I do something else, I'm updating my Facebook status. And because inside what I wrote, not status, like what I'm doing, I just wrote something on Facebook. And because something inside there must have sounded a bit like me people pleasing, I remember her commenting on the post and saying, Lori, remember what I told you all these years ago? Popular is not important. I was like, delete the comment, delete the comment.
So funny.
I thought, Sadie, she's still showing up.
Oh, I love that. She's sitting there and she's probably watched and waited for that moment and gone, right, she needs me now. She needs my guidance. She's going the wrong direction. I need to get her back.
100%.
That's so brilliant.
She's brilliant.
Oh, well, and there's nothing wrong with hard graft at that age as well. When I first, I did some retail work when I was young. I remember one of my jobs was in a bike shop and I had to lift all these bikes. We used to get a bike delivery and it was a bit stressful because we blocked the traffic every time these great big articulated lorries would turn up. And so it was a race against time to get all the bikes off and up to the storeroom. But because it was a Victorian old building, the basement kept flooding. So we had to store all the bikes in the top floor in a Victorian, you know what I mean? Those industrial Victorian buildings, they've got very narrow staircases. Anyway, I'm digressing, but I know what it is to build your muscles in your work. I used to have to carry bikes up sort of 5 flights of stairs and at pace to come down and get the next one and up and down. And there was no automation. It was just people carrying bikes upstairs. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's character building, Lori.
I was just going to say it's muscle building. Like me and my 60 cartons of trainers, we've both built the muscles physically and then also, psychologically as well. It's character building.
Resilience.
These are the things that make resilience. It makes you who you are. You reflect back on those experiences better than probably some of the more recent experiences that you had in your work, and they ground you.
Or to be fair, I couldn't really do it that much. I wasn't very strong, so I left and got a job in an office because it was warmer and I didn't have to carry so much heavy stuff. Another story for another day.
There's another lesson in there.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's wonderful. Good old Sadie, and I'm glad she's sort of monitoring you somewhere. She's going to listen to this podcast and go, "Did you do any pleasing, Lori? Were you too people pleasing?" We'll get a review. All right. Well, should we move on to number 3?
Yes. My third one is my wonderful mother.
All right.
I know that people, many people pick their mum, and it's difficult for me not to, because she is just such a friend as well as a mum now. She wasn't a friend back in the day. She really was a mum. But we have over the years very much just become like friends. We laugh together, we enjoy time together. I love the content. But the reason why I picked her is because I find myself to be very ambitious. Myself, my business partners, most of the people I surround myself with are naturally very ambitious. But I realize that ambition looks different to different people. It doesn't mean you have to climb Mount Everest and do all of these earth-shaking things. It's working out what's your enough, what's more than enough for you, and are you taking a step towards that? That's what I learned from my mom. And my mom's enough was that she wanted to be a registered nurse. She wanted to be married with a 4-bedroom house and 4 children. She wanted to become a counsellor by 50 and retired by 60. And she has done each of those things.
What?
That was her enough. And it's not the tenacious, I'm going after this, I'm doing that. She worked out measurably, these are the things that are going to contribute towards my happiness. I will work towards those things with all the twists and turns of the path. She got pregnant by 18. She had 4 children by 30. She's a force to be reckoned with. But like the story of the wind versus the rain making the man keep on his coat, and the sunshine comes out. Anyway, that story resonates because she's warm, she's soft, she's feminine, but she's very, very driven, but not in that way that we would outwardly describe as tenacious. So sometimes I wonder, where did my sisters and I get this from? Maybe more so my dad, but she still achieved all of her goals, and that is why I absolutely love her and I admire her so much. Even the goals that she had to anybody else might be quite simple, straightforward, very attainable. But if you've reached your enough, you've achieved 100% of your goal. And now she's just enjoying life, being a grandmother, and speaking to me every day.
Gosh, I'm so impressed by her. What's her name?
Her name is Beverly.
Beverly. I'm so impressed by that, because to me, having that foresight, and knowing, I mean, she must have got that from somewhere. So there must have been something in her background that said, either as a rejection of an idea or a reinforcement of an idea, somebody had influenced her. It'd be wonderful to ask her, wouldn't it? Where did she get that from? Unless you
write that down.
Because I'd like to know, because to know, have so much conviction and so much foresight, and then to be so intentional, and also to know what is enough is a hugely mature thing. Like, that's a person that's really understood the essence of what it is to be peaceful in this life, and to enjoy the gifts of this world. I'm so impressed by that, and I love the how you kind of included it as an ambition thing. It is an ambition. It's not, like you say, it's not about conquering something unconquerable. It's about creating something totally within her means to make, but not easy. It's not
Not
easy
at
to.
all.
So I take it there's a brother in the mix then, or is there another sister? Are you one of four?
I'm one of five. So I'm the middle
5.
child. Two girls, three girls, two boys. And
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, that's
But
extraordinary. Sorry, I interrupted.
no, I was just saying that, five children, four from my and dad. And yes, it I don't think it was I'm trying to work out if it was this conscious path, but yes, it was. It is this ambition that she had, this dedication to what she wanted to achieve, and how she would do that. And with four children, I just thought, by 30 at the time, I think it was a lot because she still worked full time. She was the nurse. She was working full time. Still made sure we had absolutely everything we wanted for nothing. I'm not saying in terms of money, we didn't have all the
Yeah.
money. We were still, telling our friends that we went to our gate on holiday, which was like our gate, not an actual place. We didn't leave the house, but we used the word our gate to describe somewhere that we'd been because we hadn't been on holiday. We'd just gone to the park. We'd done lovely things. So in growing up in our childhood, it wasn't the most privileged, but we wanted for nothing in terms of happiness, support, all
Yeah.
of the kind of Maslow's hierarchy of
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
They were there.
Oh, I love the sound of her. I love the sound of that life. And I keep coming back to this idea of contentment and peace. Obviously, that's where Victoria's got it from. She's understood that. She's watched that and gone, I want that. I know, I want what mum's got. But also the grounding that she's given you, that security, that stability, enabled you, I mean, you guys to go off and achieve your ambitions. You take a few risks, decide that you're going to go from, the Midlands to Mayfair and give it a go. That comes from her giving you that stability that says, yeah, go on, give it a go. I'm still here. And I'm not, even if I'm not here physically, I've given you that, that I've instilled in you this a belief that it'll be all right anyway. So
Yeah.
I just think, she's amazing. So I don't know if you don't know, come back to me later when you've asked her who. I would love to know her 5, and what made her. Then gave her such a vision of the life that she wanted at such a young age. I'm very impressed by that because I'm so random. If you go and look at if you're really bored one day, go and look at my LinkedIn profile, and you'll see that I've done a lot of things, but there's no link. There's no plan. I just went, oh, that looks really interesting. I'm going to go and do that now. And, there are some advantages to that. It's a very diverse life I've led, but I sometimes think I wish I had a plan. So no, I'm very impressed with people who do. So I like the sound of Beverly very much. All right. Do you want to say anything more about her? We should move on.
Oh, the last thing I would just add on that, because I think it is also really important, is that she never let us have excuses for anything. She would
Mm,
always see excuses as just reasons to remain where you are. And I think when you're growing up as a female, we never played those cards of like, oh, I'm limited because of my color, I'm limited because I'm a woman, blah, blah, blah. Yes, some of those things, of course, they exist. But if you make that your narrative, you can only function within the kind of confines of what that produces. So she would never let us have these excuses, have pity parties. So even though she was soft and warm and sweet and nurturing, she was also very, come on, you gotta get up, we need to work, and that's probably what has led to the career successes that we've had individually as siblings.
and did she have a fierceness as well? You've used the word fierce for Louise and
Yeah,
for
no, not
Victoria.
not outwardly. I would definitely say it's in there, so it depends how she's triggered. But typically, very warm, very soft, typical nerd. Wants to care for
Oh, God, I
everybody,
love her. I
do
get my
everything. I know.
Laurie. If anybody listens to this podcast, I was born to a mother, of course, but I didn't really know her. I didn't. I was kind of raised without a mother. So every time I hear about mothers, I go, oh, gosh, she sounds lovely. Do you think she could adopt me? Could you ask?
Happily, happily. You guys would. I mean, she would absolutely love you. She would absolutely love you.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully she still might keep the offer open. I'm not. I'm in search. I'm in active search. No, I'm kidding. But I do have mum envy always when I see lovely mummies. Okay, well, I can see much of why she's made the list. She's probably a bit upset that she wasn't number one, though. Just saying, there is a hierarchy on this thing. Sisters
Oh,
took the
oh,
top
not
spot.
with
No,
me.
no.
No,
Oh,
my
okay.
logic was like moving from there was some
Boss.
logic behind it. Yes.
So
Like
now the
almost
sisters are
like
going to be mad at
character.
you.
Oh, Julia, however you string this is gonna.
Is you can't win this one, Laurie. Whether you're saying your sisters are at the bottom of the five, or your mum's only made it to third in your list, either way, you're in big trouble when you get home.
I don't think anybody would have cared if you hadn't highlighted it. So we're gonna have to edit this out.
we won't. We won't. Listen, I'm only messing. It's so hard. I mean, I'm only messing with the hierarchy thing too, but mums do normally are quite often the number one spot, because I think ultimately we all know that that's probably where they belong. But not everybody approaches it that way, and I'm only messing with you. So listen, okay, shall we move on to number 4? Who's number 4
Yes.
on your list?
Number 4 is a gentleman by the name of Mark Jachet.
Oh, hang on.
And
This Mark Jachet. How do you spell
yeah,
that?
Jacheet.
Jachet. What a great name. Mark Jachet. Tell me.
He was the president of Tiffany EMEA, so looking after Europe and Middle East, and he was the person who promoted me to director, so my first foray into
Mm.
director. And I remember having not many conversations around what progression would look like. I wasn't that person banging on the door saying, "When's my next promotion? When am I getting?" It just happened very organically through the work. I built the credibility through the results versus through the vocalizing what I needed. So when he called me into the office, I actually thought I'd done something wrong because you know how sometimes you overthink things, a lot
Yeah.
of things are going on, and it was such a typical Mark approach to disregard everything that was going on at the time and invite me into the office. And I just saw a bouquet of flowers on the table and his PA just smiling at me. And he said, I would like to invite you to be part of the regional senior leadership team. How would you
Wow.
feel about that? And I remember all sorts of emotions coming through. I wanted to cry, but I also wanted to be strong. I had no clue it was coming. Um, he wanted to mark this as a special moment, which I was annoyed about because I would have prepared my hair and makeup a bit better. I'd look greater. But, that's the thing when you work in luxury, it's all about aesthetics and you look.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
luxury is more about connection versus perfection, so I have to remember that. But he was the absolute epitome of allyship. He coached me, he supported me, he challenged me, and even I was working for him as a manager at the time, within his team, doing my best to lead that generation of that time of Tiffany, in terms of the team and the leaders that we needed. I was trying my best to really make sure I did a good job for him and the leadership team. And then when he invited me to become part of it, I was just so overwhelmed that somebody had opened that door because there were other opportunities, there were other options and routes they could have gone down. But he saw something in me and he also was committed to nurturing that something. So I found that truly inspirational. He himself is a very inspirational person. He's spent lots of time in South Asia. He's done a stint in the army in Martinique in the Caribbean. He's lived in North America. He just had he made me think of you actually because you've had this kind of rich life that has brought you to this point, and you're very willing to share that with others. Not many are also willing to kind of give something that's very much worth keeping, and I admire him for that.
And what I'm hearing also is that um, how he wanted to set that up for you as an experience. I mean, lots of people get promoted, but sometimes they hear about it over an email, or HR will tell them. I'm talking about sort of big corporates, really. But I love how he wanted to set that up for you as a personal experience, and with the flowers and the assistant sitting there beaming, and he wanted you to feel something, and that's next level. I mean, it's one thing to see you. It's one thing to be wanting to invest in your career. All of that is wonderful too. But that extra bit of care, um, I don't know. I've not heard of that before. I've not heard of anybody getting a promotion with flowers.
Yeah, it's almost like, I'm doing the job. I want to do a good job. You don't need to reward me with flowers for it. But it was, I think it's just a way of acknowledging the moment. And he had partnered with the HR director, who was also a very strong mentor at the time. She would tell me,
Mm,
you're visible, but not visible enough. You need to, self-promote and do all of these things. And it was all coming from a good place because she saw where I could go. But it just was
yeah.
not natural to me it was not it didn't come naturally to me to do a lot of self promotion and all of these things. But I was so grateful that they still saw something in me that they wanted to nurture.
Yeah, but you know what though? What do they say? Self promotion is no promotion. It's like, or self praise is no praise is actually what the phrase is. But you get my point. It's like I think when people are just naturally charismatic or naturally gifted, naturally creative, connected, good connectors, all the things that I'm sensing that you are in spades. It's like, well, why? Those are the kind of people you do gravitate to. You do want to support. You do want to help nurture. It's the noisy ones that I personally I've led many businesses, and it's the really noisy, ambitious ones. I'm quite allergic to them, to be honest. I don't really like it. I just think, especially the climbers, you can sort of sense it a mile off, and those people who are prepared to tread on anybody to get there. As somebody who's been in hiring and promoting positions of authority, um, I'm quite averse to them. I would have gravitated to you. I would have wanted to invest in you. I would have seen something and gone, there's something about this one. This is the one I want to develop. So I think and people listening, if they're rising in their career right now, sometimes, hang on, my voice is gone. Have a little think about it. Have a little think about how you're landing. It's one thing to be ambitious, but mostly it is about being authentic and also just being good. Just be good at what you do. Just be mindful, be present, be aware, and good things will happen. And it will happen not because you're banging on someone's door, going on about how great you are. It'll probably just happen because you're just turning up every day, being a good person, doing a good job. There's a thing. Can I just digress for a minute? Because there's this thing about. I read about this quite recently. It's called the tiara syndrome. Have you heard of it? Tiara syndrome.
No, I don't think so.
Um, I think the spirit of it is, and I think it's called tiara syndrome because it's a very female thing. And I don't know if this is backed up with any kind of science, but I was just reading a little piece about it that said typically women wait to be discovered in a business. They call it tiara syndrome because they're waiting for some handsome prince to come and put a tiara on their head and say, "Come join me in this C-suite. You have been chosen. You've been discovered." And there's a little bit of that. I don't want to suggest that that's what's happened here. I think you haven't had a tiara syndrome. You have done all the right things to get noticed and chosen. But it is a real thing. Apparently, women aren't very good at moving towards opportunity. And I do. It's a nuanced thing. I know I've just said don't go around banging your drum, but you have to do enough to be seen. You have to do enough to be, to be noticed, but not sit there and wait for your prince to come and discover you while you quietly sit in the corner and don't do anything to attract that attention. So I think that's what they mean by a tiara syndrome. It's that idea that you're just
Mm.
going to sit and wait. So I think you've got that balance just right, Laurie. And I think if anyone's listening and thinking about how they're going to progress their own career, it is a balance. Don't bang on too much because that's really unattractive, but do enough to be noticed for your gifts and your capabilities.
Yeah. And I think there's two ways I would approach that, even thinking about my experience. Yes, there was an element, maybe of tiara syndrome that happened, but that leader also was committed to the process of getting to that point. So
Mm,
investing from very early on. So then, this is you being recognized for what we've worked on together. And then the second thing I think of is experienced leaders like yourself and like Mark. who are able to use gut and intuition to spot that versus all the
Mm.
leadership books and I've heard you say before, I'm not studying and doing all the how to do leadership. I've just learned it and through experience, you've had that exposure. And I think that is what's so important for the next generation of leaders coming up who think they have to have ticked all the boxes and know exactly how to nurture the right talent according to some model that they've learned and now want to apply. But we still very much need the leaders who are willing to go with their guts and to willing to spot
Mm.
out those who are kind of being a bit more, you know, performative and playing the game versus those who really do want to do a good job but need to get that balance right.
Yeah. I like that word you use there, performative. Got to be aware of the watch out for the performative people. I think
Yeah,
that's a rule of life, isn't it? Watch out for them.
yeah.
Give them a wide berth. Oh well, how fortunate again, and I imagine that changed your career trajectory hugely. Are you still in touch? Do you still see
Yes,
him? Do you?
it's been a while, but even after I left the Canadian company, we've stayed in touch. I've met him in Paris, and we've also worked together since as well. Because he moved on to another company, and LVL London, we've done some work for him. So it's been a wonderful relationship, and I will forever be grateful for the opportunities that he created.
Oh, well, you can send in this little segment, can't you?
Yes, I
And say,
will.
look, Mark, I've been saying nice things about you. Oh, wonderful. I think, like going back to my point earlier, first bosses really matter, but also the people that can change your career trajectory, and really see you. They hugely matter too. So, glad he's on the list. All right. Well, we've got number 5 now, the finale.
So the last person is somebody who I have never met before, but I
Hmm.
am truly inspired by their work. Her name is Frances Fry. Have you heard of her?
I follow her on LinkedIn. I listen to her
Yes,
podcasts.
yes.
Yeah, she's got a
Fi-
thing called Fixable. Yeah,
Love
yeah, love
her
her.
and her wife is
Her wife, yeah, uh,
Frances as well.
and yeah, something like that. Yeah, so they're a double act, aren't they?
They
They're
are. So I the reason why I am so inspired by and have been shaped by a lot of what she's taught is because she's a Harvard business professor
Mhm.
and she's done a fantastic TED talk all around trust. And when we were talking about trust
Yeah,
earlier, it
yeah.
made me think of her. And she has recently been diagnosed with cancer, and that has kind of
Oh,
changed how she has perceived, the work she does, and she gives a lot. She gives a lot. I think she already had this plan and goal to democratize learning at that level. So on every Friday, she does what's called office hours. And she will teach for 30 minutes on a specific topic. It could be about trust, authenticity, logic, delegation, anything. And then she just takes questions from the audience for 30 more minutes. And she will give everything that she knows from all of her research. She was a senior vice president for Uber for a while doing leadership, and had a wonderful stint there. But I learned so much from her knowledge, from the way that she articulates her knowledge and the way that she relates with people. And it's everyone from every walk of life, every industry, talking about challenges as relates to that topic. And I think for her to do that for free, because a lot of people would charge, a lot of money to have a Harvard business professor come and sit and coach them for even 5 minutes. I would recommend anybody dial in. It's called Office Hours. She does it on a Friday. Sometimes she invites Anne, and she um, is incredibly inspirational. I think a lot of my work around trust and authenticity has also come from her, and because she has this rule that trust is lost if you wobble on your logic, if you wobble on your empathy, and if you wobble on your authenticity. And those are I like the word wobble. It's cool. And
That's a good
I
word.
see it happen. I see it happen a lot as well in the work that we do, where one of those kind of three things is was wobbling, and that's why the team are struggling to trust, or you're struggling to
Mm,
make people ask why aren't I promoted? Something's not happening, but I can't put my finger on it. Often
yeah,
it's one of those
yeah.
three things. So, yeah. Francis
I've
Pro.
I've not listened to Office Hours. I have listened to the Fixable podcast, and I was one of the early adopters. Actually, I remember writing when they first launched it. I remember writing something and saying, this sounds amazing. Before it even launched, I said, this sounds amazing. Can't wait to tune in. So, and they replied directly. So I think it was at the early stages when they probably could handle that. But I imagine their podcast is huge now. So Fixable, I have listened to many times. And what I love about it, it feels like something, little nuggets of actual operational know-how and wisdom on how to solve things. I mean, hence the title Fixable, I suppose, but also quite thoughtful. And I love how they bring guests in who bring their own problems and say, well, and they actually advise and say, this is how you could look at this next time or whatever. And there's one that I always remember. It was the one that was about how to handle a workplace bully. And it was such a sensitive piece and so insightful. And so, I like to think I know a thing or two. I've as I say, I've been in business a long time, run a lot of companies, led a lot of people. But even I can get blindsided sometimes. And when you get in, I listened to that podcast and went, gosh, it's so subtle. It's so nuanced. You expect a workplace bully to sort of strut in and announce themselves, wouldn't you? But no, I found that absolutely fascinating. And I'm really sorry to hear she's been diagnosed. I've obviously missed that particular
Yeah, I
bit of
don't know if it was
information.
a formal thing, but sometimes when she comes on, she talks about chemotherapy and things. So I kind of put two and two together, and I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
office hours is a direct result. People rethinking their life and doing. I don't know if it's that. It's a lot more authentic than that. I think she just wants to take elite learning, make it accessible
yeah.
to others, and I just think that's a
So
wonderful
generous.
goal. So generous.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, isn't it funny? Because I wouldn't say she's mainstream, and it's funny that we both know
Yeah.
her and follow her. And back to I know I apparently I should stop doing this. I keep saying all the things I'm not good at on this podcast, and one of them is the studying thing. But the truth of it is, I never stop learning. I'm always taking on information, and I'm very, very naturally curious, and I follow good people all the time. I listen to what they have to say, and these headphones are pretty much adhered to my head. If you know me in my day to day, I'm always listening to something. It's my way of learning. But no, I'm just very impressed by academics. I just find academic people who really know their thing and teach at Harvard and do all that kind of stuff. I met Susie Burke the other day, just digressing for a minute. And she's on my podcast, and she teaches at Harvard, and I'm just sitting there the whole time going, wow,
Oh,
she's teaches at Harvard. You know what I mean? I'm so impressed by people who get to that level of depth of understanding on a subject. I'm such a generalist, Laurie. I'm great at dinner parties. I can talk about anything.
I
But
know.
you can imagine what I'm like. Like if they said, right, if I went on Mastermind, they said, what's your specialist subject? I'd go, people.
People.
That's people. That'll be it.
But
I
you must
like
learn so
people.
much through this social learning, this
Oh,
podcast. I mean,
definitely.
you like you said, you are a natural learner. It's okay to be inspired by those people as well. Harvard with these professors, but they, knowing everything makes you an expert. But sharing everything and acting like it makes you a bore. So I think there's a balance. There's a balance to
Yeah.
strike. That's why I like Francis. But also, you talk as if you've studied it for years and have read all the books. That's what I get from you when
Oh,
we
Evan.
interact. But yeah, it's a different path which inspires a lot of people.
No, I don't know. I as I say, I'm back to Francis and those kind of truly studied and considered people. I would like to think I can change inspire a thought or two. That's kind of if I have any ambition on this world, I want to change a little bit of thinking. And I am firmly rooted in the power of people. I think that is my specialist subject. If I did go on Mastermind, that's what I'd talk about. But someone like Frances, who's actually made it her life's work to understand the human condition, a bit like Brené Brown, people like that, they,
Yes.
and Glennon Doyle and people who, just decide that to understand human beings, not from a, neuropathy way. Is that the right word? neuropathy. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But more so less science and more how we actually are and why we behave the way we do and how, but to also approach it not from an interest point of view, but from a helpfulness point of view. Like when Brené Brown talked about vulnerability all those years ago, and it unlocked a whole different viewpoint on what strength looks like. And if, when Francis talks about trust, a whole different emphasis on why trust is so important in business. These are people who change the course of discourse between human beings, and the celebration of what we used to see as weaknesses and now we see as strengths. It used to be a thing not to trust people. It used to be a thing. Don't trust. I did a post recently, and it started with, "There are no friends in business," or so they say. And because I just had this fabulous 2 days with a colleague of mine, and but if you grew up in the 80s, it was don't trust anyone. Keep your powder dry. We always was told this. Keep your powder dry. Keep everything close to your chest. Don't tell anybody anything. And of course, everyone there just mistrusted each other. So there was no allyship, nothing good was coming from it. But nowadays, we talk very openly about the power of trust. We talk very openly about vulnerability being a strength, and it's pioneers like Brené and Francis that are making us think differently. And if I'm going to make my tiny little contribution, Lori, it is showing gratitude for the people that brought you here. Like, nobody is self-made. We all need to look back and go, who inspired me to be this person? Who helped me grow? Who influenced me to be the person I am today? And then think very deeply about, well, who am I impacting? Who am I landing well with? Could I possibly be on somebody's 5, 10, 20 years from now and be talked well of? And make that an aspirational goal. That's it. Quite simple. That's my purpose. There you go, Lori. Heard it here.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That's it. That's all I want to do. All right. Well, Lori, I felt like I went off on one there, and I've been told off about that too. Do you know who told me off?
Doing all this? Yeah, who is doing all this telling off on your podcast?
I tell you who told me off. Claude.
Oh, the AI tool.
The AI tool. I was all brave, and I just dropped in loads of transcripts of my lovely little podcast conversations, and I said, Claude, what could I improve? Being all brave and vulnerable. And Claude, I've noticed, is not very sycophantic. ChatGPT tells me I'm marvellous all the time. So I thought I'd give Claude a go. And Claude was like, well, you do go on a bit, and you do digress a bit, and you self-deprecate a bit. And I went, all right, calm down. But basically, I've got a royal roasting from Claude on the things I shouldn't be doing on this poddy.
Claude, what is the definition of strategic authenticity?
I'm going
to. Saying authenticity is the key here, and that is part of my authenticity.
Yes.
Claude.
Yeah, Claude. Shush now. Yeah, no, actually, truthfully, I love Claude. I do. I use it all the time. And not just for, like, some people use AI for like Google, don't they? And just search things. I actually construct stuff with Claude. I find it an amazing product. I mean, who knows where it's going to go? It'll be something different in 2 weeks' time. But right now, as a creativity tool, it's fabulous. Anyway,
they should sponsor your podcast as well. Paid partnership with Claude.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll go, right, you've had all these opinions now, Claude. Now show me the money. Be my partner then. Help me out. All right. Well, listen, I'm thrilled that Frances is on your list. I love the fact that she's been honoured, and I'm sure she'll show up on many people's lists, given the impact she's had through her teachings and also her podcast work. So a wonderful finale there. So if we move on from the list of 5, it is an ambition of mine. I just mentioned it that I want people to reflect and really think about who these people are. Who are the key people that have really shaped them? So there is 2 parts. There is the can you pinpoint specifically now? We talked about Victoria seeing you and listing out, doing her own TEDx application. You've talked very passionately about what these people are. Do you think you can look back over them and say, right, these are the things that are me now because of them?
Yes, I would say maybe three things that I would say this is who I am because of who they are. Quietly ambitious because of my mother.
Yeah.
Um, or authentic, a different version of my authenticity, so a bit more radical, and that comes from Louise, my older sister. Um, and then I would say the third one would be a more trusting person. So even Frances Frey, she talks about trust, gaining trust from others, but also giving out trust to others as well is something that has truly become part of my identity, even since listening to her over the years.
Excellent. All right. And then what's next for you then? Because, I'm going to, I think I'm going to start this now. This is going to be my new question, Laurie. Get ready. And you wouldn't have been able to prepare for this because I've not done this before. Okay, let's build on this idea of how you see yourself impacting others going forward. And specifically, what would you like to, I've just come up with this. Specifically, what would you like to be thought of and chosen for if you were to make somebody else's 5? Oh, I like that. I'm going to incorporate this every week. So it's 2 parts. What is next for you? What are you going to take forward with who you are now? And what impact would you like to make on the world so that you're chosen on somebody else's 5?
Okay, so I think that the thing that I would really like, it's like my personal leadership, my personal motto is to be able to change one leader to be able to change their world so that they can change the world. So that's my kind of
Mm-hmm.
like philosophy. Yes,
Oh,
maybe it's refined by ChatGPT, but I came up with it and it's sick because it was authentic to me, so I'm keeping it. So I think if I can do that in a way that causes a better world that comes through leadership in every facet of life, personal life, political life, social life, everything, then I would have done what I hope I came to this earth to do. And then what do I hope people would say about me if I had made their list? I think there's something about staying consistent to your values throughout everything that you do, because they show up differently in different scenarios, but they are still there at the core of who you are. And how you do anything is how you do everything. And I use that motto of how I like to govern my work, my personal life, my professional life. So I would like to be remembered as somebody who was very consistent in how they did anything or how they did everything, and that they stayed very true to their values.
okay. I'm going to push you a bit harder on it though, because I think
Ugh.
I'm live working through a format change. Um, could we get to another level, which is imagining that you are chosen as somebody else's 5? Can you imagine an impact that you might have made? Could it be like, oh, I'm going to put Lori Powell as number 4 because she did this, and that be a thing that you aspire to be? Do you get my meaning? Do you know? Oh, she gave me my first chance. She saw
Yeah,
something in me and gave me. What would be something that you'd be super proud of that you enabled in somebody else so that they chose you as their one of their 5?
yeah. It's big. I mean, it'll be interpreted differently by different people, but it would be big to me for somebody to have come on a leadership program that I had ran internationally and been impacted by the skills that
Oh
they
yeah,
received in that program. But
I
I
like that.
think somebody attended a program that changed how they saw themselves and therefore how they showed up in the world would be wonderful if that's what somebody had said directly about me.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to refine this. This is going to be another one of my my questions, my format questions, because I am trying to change. I suppose I want people to start being conscious of it. This is a little bit of why I'm doing this. Be conscious of your impact. Be conscious
Mm,
of the things that you are doing and saying. That you one day down the line somebody's going to reflect back on and say, "I heard that from Laurie," and choose to be the person that impacts positively. Because I could easily make a sister podcast called People Are Bastards, couldn't I? Do you know what I mean? I could easily do that because there's many, many people you could line up and go, well, I can tell you, they weren't very nice to me and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? There's plenty of that around, but don't be that person. Be the person that impact somebody so positively that you make their 5. Isn't that a wonderful? I think that'd be a wonderful ambition to have.
100%. And I think because it starts with yourself, it's almost like what you just did was challenge me to project myself into the future and then bring it into the now. So I think, oh gosh, if I want to be that person, who do I kind of need to be? But not in a way that feels mechanical and planned, but
No.
more of a, oh, that's hopefully if the path leads the right way, that's where we get to. And I think it's a wonderful thought. So I'm happy to have helped you shape the end
Yeah.
of your questioning. And I'd love to see how it evolves.
Well, I better ask Claude first if it's okay. It might say no. Is Claude? Do you think Claude's a male name, isn't it?
It
Claude.
is.
So we have to say he. ChatGPT could be anything, couldn't it? But Claude's a fella, right? Claude, I'm going to ask you about this later. I'm not actually, because I'm just going to do it. But
yeah, it feels right.
It feels
Gut,
right, doesn't
intuition, exactly.
Yeah, look at me being all human and making my own decisions without checking with a computer. Listen, Lori, it's been absolutely a joy to have you today. You just radiate kind of health, vitality. You're super passionate about what you can do. You can tell that. And the way you talk about your 5 is very inspiring. I want to meet all of them. I think you're very, very blessed to have such wonderful people in your life. But you are paying it back in spades by, I don't know, living the life that you're living, achieving what you're achieving, and putting so much greatness into the world. Now, you don't get to go just yet, because there's always the final question, which is, who should I speak to next and why? I'm really hoping it's your mum, quite honestly. I just want a cup of tea with her.
I'm going to scribble out who I've put, and I just wrote down quickly a note of who I think it should be. But yeah, maybe it should be Mum. You're welcome any time for a good East Midlands tea, not quite Yorkshire tea, but Derby City of Dreams. I'm sure we'll give you some wonderful tea if you drink it. And yes, but my person is his name's Andrew Bidnall.
Andrew Bidnall.
And I work with him as an associate coach for a company that we do senior leadership programs for. And he is just incredible. He has ran a lot of leadership teams in kind of war-torn countries. He's done work in Sudan, he's done work in Angola, and he likes to combine leadership with adventure and the great outdoors. So I think he's got a really interesting perspective on leadership, how you kind of manage your support network. So he'll be great for protecting your peace. So I think that he'd be great for you, but also for your listeners as well. And I'd happily make an introduction to him. But he's a leadership coach who combines outdoor activity and wonderful experiences. He does some work with the UN into his coaching practice, and I'm inspired by him a lot.
Oh, I love it. I've never heard it phrased like that before. Leadership with adventure. I guess that's a bit like people who join what's it called? Médecins Sans Frontières, whatever it is. Doctors who go and do all these war-torn countries.
Oh yeah, they work on the mission ships. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're medical doctors, but they choose deliberately to go into these very difficult parts of the world and practice. And that sounds a bit like Andrew. I love meeting. I know I seem to be gravitating to people who are in the leadership space, and I think it's the subject matter. I think when you're talking about people and the power of people, it's naturally going to have a bias towards people who've spent their whole lives learning about how we think and how we are, right? So, but I've not heard that particular take before. So I'd very much be a real joy to meet him. So if you can make that happen, that'd be marvelous. Well, wonderful. So is there anything else you'd like to share before we, anything you'd like to promote? Would you like to plug your business? Would you like me to plug your business in the show notes? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want, Lori?
What do I want? Last time I was asked that, I probably Anyway, I digress. We are LVL London. I've talked about us enough throughout, and it would be great if anybody wants to connect with us, whether it's on LinkedIn or our website. And yeah, just very happy. Always good to meet new people, connect with people from different walks of life, different industries. So that's my plug.
All right, very good. Okay, well, listen, thank you for your time today,
Thank you
and for bringing so much to this conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the very best with everything you're doing.
Thank you. Same to you, Julia.
Well, that was the gorgeous Lori Powell. I hope you enjoyed that one. And if you did, please like, subscribe, comment, get involved, and get in touch. Maybe you know somebody or you would like to share your 5. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. So next week we have Draw à Louche. What can I say? I don't know. Multi everythinged. He's like the Swiss Army knife of people. And curiously lives in Switzerland, by the way. But yeah, multi-talented, multilingual, and just a very, very interesting guy. So I look forward to introducing you to him next week. Until then, have a good week ahead. Take care. Bye.